We are recording. All right. Welcome everyone to the 2021 SpaceChem tournament round 1 video. So we're just going to be casually going over a bunch of the solutions for round 1 and having a little chat about them, and yeah, just presenting all the cool stuff you guys did with making a Trident. So the theme for this week is that I was trying to think of shapes we hadn't made before, and happened to pop into my head that we hadn't made a fork or a trident before, so I did that, and Poseidon has demanded that we make this somewhat blue-colored molecule. Fortunately, neodymium happened to be a multiple of another blue element that was a multiple of phosphorus, so I went with that. And let's load up the first solution by mstang, or mstang, not sure which you prefer. Alright, so mstang I think is the first solver, or the only solver to use the fuser over the input. So this is going to make red's job really simple. As you can see, it's just a 6 loop, and it just has to create the phosphorus and shove it onto the bonders, and then it creates neodymium at the same time in place. And blue is going to be waiting around to help shuffle things around and then transport it out. So this is going to take a lot of cycles because, of course, red is doing most of the work and blue is spending a lot of time on sinks. So that's something to look out for, is if you have one Waldo constantly waiting for the other one and one Waldo is doing almost all the work, you usually want to have both helping out somehow. The other cost here is that having the fuser over the input hurts a little bit here because there's only about three fuses needed per molecule, but there's a lot of bonds needed, and a lot of bonds just to pull phosphoruses out of the input. So if you put the bonders over the input, you can pull those out a lot faster and construct the sticks a lot faster. But this is a really nice way to make a solution that is easy to understand and just kind of nice to look at with that simple red loop. And he'll do a nice rotate so that he gets to drop it right at the edge of the output zone and output. So this comes in at 559 cycles. I think this is the first I've heard of mstang, so thank you for participating, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of you. Next is CursedFlames. And I forget, was there a solution name in here? No, I think it was just default solution. So CursedFlames, I think had a comment in one of his at some point, but I forget what it was. Feel free to drop it in the chat. I'll also only open the chat. Voice adjacent. So yeah, I'm using the voice adjacent channel, by the way, guys, for if you want to comment on the stream. And yes, it will be on YouTube, Ravi. I'll upload this later, so feel free to speak up, but your voice will be on YouTube as a heads up if you want to. All right, let's move on to CursedFlame solutions. So this is, oh, and I forgot to mention, mstang created the canonical output shape, and I think he might have been the only one to do that. I'm trying to remember, maybe someone else did. He or she or whatever, I might just use he for everyone, sorry. And that's it. Okay, so CursedFlames, let's see, is going to create phosphorus using, this is the more classical, putting the bonders over the input. And oh, that's right, CursedFlames had, I should have looked at this and known, but it is possible to do the SpaceChem classic and make a swastika out of this. And CursedFlames will go ahead and do that because that allows this nice pattern where you can easily create all the arms in the same shape, and then just fuses in 3 more to create the output. So, of course, we had to have one. This is a classic that we've seen in almost every tournament recently, is that somehow a swastika is efficient sometimes. But one thing we'll see here is that red has, well, perhaps not efficient, but red has a lot of downtime because blue's doing almost all the work, and you can see red's just occasionally helping with bonds and inputs, and blue's just counting to 4 and then going. So this is potentially good on, this approach could be potentially really good on symbols, but it's going to cost a lot of cycles here because of the lack of work for red, effectively. It just helps out the fusing bit at the end there. And this will come in at 477. Next up, in 22nd place, I guess, we have UsernameVoid, whose solution name is bad. I encourage you guys to meme with your solution names, because you can do that. All right, so he's going to create the neodymium first using a 4-stick, which brings over the fuser. Oh, someone's audio is a little choppy. All right, and I kind of glazed over that, but Blue's created the Trident in one of the more popular shapes here for everyone's solutions is, I guess I've called it the asymmetric arm, where one of the arms is just sticking out straight. And that is going to prove to be an easier shape because, yeah, you can just pull it out straight, you don't have to do any curves, and you need to make one arm regular to fit in, or one arm the classical shape to fit in. And so this solution is going to have a lot of time spent with red waiting for blue to construct, so that's going to cost it a little bit. But it does have a little bit more of the Waldos working together and nice efficient pulling strings of inputs out of the input. So this will get us down to 383 cycles below 400 now. And next will be JFB 1337, leet, and default solution. What do we have here? Red's got a nice shape, and it's pulling a big stick all the way downward, and this will allow to easily create the fusion or the neodymium as well as the stick at the same time, which is nice. I get that double efficiency. And red's then going to wait for blue to construct a bit more, and then insert the stick into the middle of the arms. And this will also use the asymmetric arm shape with one of the arms sticking straight out. One thing I think you could have potentially done here is, you'll notice here as they're switching between who's using the input, blue is spending a little bit of time waiting. And I think that could have been avoided if blue had done an input early instead of waiting for red to hit this input for it, and then maybe move this something like this, and have blue do an input over here. Could have potentially saved maybe 2 cycles off the loop or some such. But this will come in at how much? 329. A bit of time lost kind of getting everything moved around because all the features are pretty far apart. That's also something you might want to watch out for. Having these bonders closer to the other ones might help, or having the fuser somewhere closer so you don't have to go all the way downward. But in this case, you want to do that because of the stick. But maybe pulling the stick sideways would have been better or some such. And we'll probably see that in some future solutions. So next we have MonsterracerðŽ, and I won't even try and pronounce those symbols. Blue's got a nice shape here, pretty simple looking solution. So we have pulling out a right angle shape here, fusing up at the top, nice and close to the input so that you can immediately bond right afterwards. Red just shuffled a couple of atoms around to make that easy. And then a lot of rotates on blue, 5 rotates in a row. But this will allow us to flip over and attach to the other side. I think I also noticed that in this one, maybe all these rotates aren't necessary. Red spends a lot of time just on a loop that doesn't really need to do a grab or anything, just waiting for blue. And potentially just handing off to red right around here would have just been faster, because blue needs to, the real restricting factor at this point is that blue has to go all the way to this drop and back to this grab. If you hand off here, red could go do that drop while blue's traveling back. So yeah, a common theme throughout all these solutions is going to be, how do you get the start of blue back to its starting point efficiently? Or whichever Waldo started off with the grab. But this is, I quite like the shape of blue here, and the 5 rotates in a row is pretty glorious. And this is also, I forgot to mention, creating the, I called this kind of the spaceship shape, with the 2 arms folded backwards instead of forwards. And it's a bit easier to create depending on which way you're oriented. It's very uncommon for anyone here to do the actual shape, since isomorphisms are a thing. For anyone new to SpaceChem, isomorphisms is, you can create any output shape that doesn't have to exactly match this, as long as if you laid it out in a graph, it would look the same. If you rotate the arms or whatever. All right, and this will come in at below 300, our first sub 300 solution at 286. Very nice. And next is YellowBunny. This is, I think, the metric score I was in the title. And Oh, sorry, Monster Racer. You were not second with that solution, I forgot to mention, but nice try. I like the attempted call out. Let's see. So red's going to assist with blue's stick building. Blue's going to wait for red to come down. And you'll notice the fuser and bonders are all the way over here. That's because he wants to build the stick really efficiently, or with just, one straight shot. And rotate down, and that means it's very easy to do the fusion, and look, the arm's already in place. That's kind of nice. But then there's a little bit of an awkward dance. Because these features are so far away, blue has to go all the way back to the grab here, and that's going to cost a bit of time. Or actually, sorry, red's going to have to go all the way back, and blue's actually waiting for it. You can see it does a little extra 2 loops here. And this is building the arms in I guess an S shape. I call this the S shape output. So now red has to travel all the way back to the grab. This is also going to cost a bit of time. So some efficiency was gained from building a really nice long stick like this, but because of how far it goes, that's kind of lost again when you travel all the way backwards. So that's a reason that this comes out a little bit higher. But it'll bring us down to 267, so we're rapidly approaching the lower limits of what this level can do. So next will be kitkinzer with wrong colors. So kitkinzer observes that he's got red grabbing first, which is usually you want blue grabbing first for that first cycle advantage, but I guess it was necessary in this case because... What was kitkinzer doing again? Oh yeah, it's got the, similar to, I forget who it was, had the fuser right near the bonders, which is kind of nice because you don't have to travel very far, and you can just... Here he uses one extra one constructed by the stick, and then the remaining 2 phosphoruses are transported by blue with that flip-flop. Let's double check the chat because I don't think I've been watching it. Right, YellowBunny commenting on, you can actually modify your solution output to the exact right shape with the same score, but you prefer the walled path and symbol placement. Fair enough. Aesthetics are up to the author. All right. So yeah, we've got, this is using the asymmetrical arm output where one arm's just sticking straight out. And yeah, there's a long walk back to the output with red here, which is another common theme we see in some of the lower scoring solutions, is that, or higher scoring solutions, I guess, which is that it's going to cost a lot of time for red to go all the way back here. Or sorry, actually, is red waiting for blue? It's going to cost a lot of time for blue to go all the way back, is what I should have said. Because red doesn't, it's really just got support commands. So maybe doing some sort of, let's see. Like here, I think you could have rotated just to drop a little bit sooner. I think, what was it? If you do, I think I looked at this one before, double rotate down here and drop, you can drop way earlier. Or at least the loop back is shorter. And then you get your output much sooner like that. So that's something to look out for whenever you're dropping in the output zone, if you can rotate to drop sooner. And that would have saved a good chunk of maybe 6 cycles off the loop or something. 4 cycles. Yeah, but having the fusers next to the input was a big help in this solution, so nice job. And next will be, oh, how much did that come in at? 267. Oh, this was our, I forgot to mention, this was our 1 symbol off tie. So pretty exciting stuff. I did look at YellowBunny's solution. I don't see any symbols missing, so good job, or any extra symbols, so there was no way for you to break this tie, unfortunately, without a completely different approach. But yeah, completely different approaches, different output shapes, but it just so happens that they're almost exactly the same score, which is, I just think, one of the beautiful things about SpaceChem, that such completely different approaches can be so similar. Yeah, I did pressure everyone in the last 15 minutes to, but cheekily, because I knew that YellowBunny didn't actually have a symbol to save here. All right, BritBoy is apologizing to Neptune because one of the prongs is wonky, yeah, which is common for everyone. And we've got, let's see, red doing the usual straight stick building that a lot of people did, just to create that stick plus neodymium easily. Meanwhile, red's going to pick up 2 more, and for some reason, you do 2 rotates here. I'm not sure why. Maybe this is easier than just going straight down, but this had to be flipped over for some reason. I didn't really investigate if you could have not, but that looks a little suspicious. But in any case, gonna create... And the thing is, I don't think... Yeah, he didn't create the correct output shapes. It wasn't like there was no misconceptions about which shape you had to make, so I guess for some reason that... maybe it's better for some reason in this configuration, but I suspect you could have saved some cycles in this area. And then blue, yeah, but here blue also has a lot of empty space. That's something to watch out for too, where maybe you want to find a way to hand off or make blue have a job somehow around this section. A lot of unused path. But a nice rotate to get the corner drop, and that'll efficiently reset for red at least. Okay, and that'll bring us down to 239, a big jump down. So we're rapidly approaching 200, and Lazy Comet's got all three at once. Copy. Like, hey guys, just leave copy ever. Fair enough. Another straight stick is extracted. This one's only 5 long though, so let's see what he does. The fusion's going to come in from this end to create rhodium, intermediate. Then the arms are built, and finally the rhodium is dropped back on the fuser to be picked up by blue. So this is pretty good handing off of between the two walls. You see red starts out with a lot of the molecule and then hands off to blue. And that means you can drop over here. Again, this output's pretty far in. Was there a way to rotate this better? Probably. Probably you could do this and drop a few arrows and be able to make red wait less long. Plus or minus some amount of not missing the fuse. But you get the idea. Anyway, this came in at, oops, 238, 1 cycle better. So, you know, watch out for your edge cycles, that will matter. Yep, and this is also the S shape I forgot to mention, the S-shaped arms. And then red spends a little bit of time waiting before it gets back, waiting for blue to drop that. Yep. Yeah, pretty good. So let's go to somewhere in here. Someone had a, here it was. Yeah, you had a spare arrow here. There's always someone. So for IEEE's sake, we'll point that out and delete it. But let's see, what approach did you use? You got the stick building, fusing, same idea with the efficient construction of neodymium. Hold on, let me check my voice chat spill over. Oh yeah, I wish there was a 1 cycle pause instruction. Yeah, don't we all? Parity issues Mattermonkey is mentioning. All right. So yeah, sorry, this is vpumeyyv's solution, who came in at, what was the score here? Or the rank. We're up to 15th place. So yeah, vpumeyyv with his 4th iteration. Sorry, I think I just butchered the name. vpumeyyv. Well, it wasn't meant to be easy to pronounce. Anyway, so we pull out our stick, we create another arm in the correct orientation, and oh, another asymmetric arms. No one wants to do the correct way because it costs symbols or cycles, which is quite reasonable. And blue will send it all the way to the output zone, and red's already back. So that was pretty good insofar as the Walders are timed nicely with each other. Had to go a little far down to reach those bonders. That might cost some time. I wonder if maybe these could have been moved up somehow, but the timing would become tight. Yep. And then only a 1 cycle stall with the sync to sync up. I think that could have been avoided now. These syncs, you can save a symbol if you do a flip-flop stall. That's a fun trick you'll want to know for the symbols optimization week. So you can drop these 2 syncs and turn one arrow into a flip-flop, and I think this will just work. Or did I get it backwards? No, that works. Yeah, so that's a 1 symbol save. 2 symbol save? 2 symbol save. In any case, pretty well timed, and yeah, nice solution. So next will be, this will come in at 232, 148. And next we have anningmay with V3 swapped colors. But this will be able to grab first, and then what's going to happen here? Oh yeah. This was one of the closest solutions, other than the one that actually did it, to creating the correct output. And I'm gonna harangue you on this one because I actually looked at it, and you could have created the correct output, and it would have actually been faster. I'm gonna quickly hop over to. Oh, I deleted it. Oh, bastard. Sorry. I did tinker with your solution, and I noticed that. All right. Anyway, let's actually talk about it. So create the stick with the fusion. Fuser's up nice and near. Drop it down. Meanwhile, red's nicely creating this extra arm for him, and then comes right by in the right spot to create the right shape, and then blue just chooses not to bond here because you wanted to rotate and drop really efficiently. But this doesn't end up really mattering because red's doing a bit of extra weighting anyway for blue with this extra output. So what you can do here, let's see if I can recreate what I did, is move the bond back to create the correct shape. And that'll save on, what is it, rotating, and blue won't have to wait as long. Let me play around with this. Sorry, this is a little detour, guys. Something like that. I think I did, this is going to look wonky, but I think I remember what I did. This is obviously not the thought process I took to get here, but it ended up looking like something like this. And this flip-flop went away, and this became a fuse, and this fuse went away, something like this. Oops. And I've destroyed it. And an input, I don't know, I've ruined it. One more input. Sorry, yeah, this is a quick detour, but yeah, if you use the correct shape and then don't bother with the rotate, you can just have blue not need to stall and wait for the red's help with the fuse, and then everything will work out with some amount of correct timing. Bond, bond, and input. There it is. So this will save you 9 cycles, in fact. But let's go back to the original. Anyway, just a detour, because it really bugged me when I saw how close you were to making the correct shape, and then it turned out the correct shape was actually potentially better in this situation, maybe. But I do think this was quite a nice solve, because you have everything timed pretty well. Blue's like just about right back at the start. Just that couple of cycles you could have saved. And this will come out to 230. All right, sorry for the detour there. Let's check the chat. And DariusH has unnamed solution, which I forget if it even names it that, or did you manually name it that? Anyway, so this is an interesting one because this is actually very similar to something we'll see later, and I'll talk about that later. But we're going to create, instead of going straight out, because that kind of ends up doing a lot of doubling back usually, it's going to create a zigzag, and then fuse up, and the neodymium is now sideways, which doesn't matter because, you know, these are all just arms of 2 phosphoruses and a neodymium. It's all symmetrical, whichever side you put the neodymium on. And then just gets back to the bonders, creates the last arm, hands off, and rotates out. And now the small issue with this solution is all this travel time by blue. Again, similar theme is whenever you see blue having to go all the way back, it would be nice if somehow you'd found a different way to hand off the molecule to each other, because then blue would be closer to its start point instead of all the way over here. Meanwhile, red has no trouble with the timing and can spend all the time in the world looping around over here. But yeah, this is a pretty efficient way to construct, and a nice rotate and a drop out will bring it to 221, a 10-cycle jump. So yeah, these have all been pretty big jumps as we go, or a lot of them have been. I should also mention, yeah, this was a 2-cycle difference, so that was pretty close back there with vpumeyyv and anningmay, so always look for those end cycles. Next we have FieldArmada with 21C plus 4. I think that's a 21-cycle loop he's referencing. And they're referencing, and next, let's see. So there's going to be a little detour in the creation of the stick, and that's because we need to give red time to drop, which will make the timing of when blue and red get back to their start positions a little bit better. So that's a good addition. And then we're going to create a huge long arm, fuse up, the neodymium. We created that, so blue kind of created its own arm, which is kind of nice. So it doesn't have to wait, or doesn't have to make red get in there and create one arm for it. Red just creates this arm, or assists with the creation of it. And they're off to the races. Now, as you can see, because of that, allowing red to do a drop in the middle of this stick, they can already start the creation of the next stick. So that's nicely timed. So the wasted kind of cycles in this solution are mostly just, as you can see a little bit here, kind of waiting around for blue to get back. That's again, the issue with these long stick creations is you have to wait for blue to travel back. Even though you're getting all these fuses in while you're doing it, still has to go a couple cycles further to hit that arm. using the L-shaped bonders. And this is, again, the spaceship output with the backwards arms. But yeah, nicely timed. And I like that addition of the little squiggle to recognize the red drop can be earlier. 214. Next up we have Mattermonkey. I think this is getting up to 11th place. And let's see what's up here. Oh yeah, we'll create the arms first, and then pull out a stick for the fusion, and red's just going to double back for the fuse, and blue can get started on the next one. So pretty well timed. Flip-flops in solutions like these will sometimes cause cycles. You can see, again, common theme in these solutions is blue's got this bottom left corner has a few empty symbols, or empty slots, kind of just waiting for blue to travel all the way back. Could have already been bonding. But with this many ways to like configure the output shape, it's really tricky to figure out which way exactly you should be grabbing and handing off. But yeah, I like and this is again the S shape, I like the symmetry here. And efficient dropout, and that will come in at 211, 3 cycles better. Okay, let's see. Oops. Yeah, ignore all the odd jobs. Now we have rezoons. This is, I think we're now into the top 10 solutions. Yeah, top 10, ignoring the fun solution. So rezoons, what's rezoons got for us? With lots of copies. And look at this nice simple shape for red. So what's happening here? Blue's doing most of the work of like running the molecule around. Red's doing a lot of assistance here. And then just create neodymium raw first, then the arms with some amount of looping back through to meet your own path. And red will need a one cycle. These syncs are not avoidable. You need the 1 cycle stall to sync up their timings. And then red will pick up so that blue can get back to the starting area quickly and efficiently, and nicely timed. So yeah, this is like getting pretty efficient, but again, we've got this bottom left blue is always the gotcha. Red looks great with all these, look, almost every cycle is an input, like 1 delay, 1 rotate. Other than that, it's almost all useful commands. But blue has this one corner where it has a little bit of trouble getting back in time, per se. Or rather, a little bit trouble helping out. I think red does a lot of traveling here. Maybe it's not really fair to say, because the molecule wasn't off the bonders yet, but potentially you could time this better to save a few of these in between cycles, like the rotate and this sync. And I think that's where this loses out in efficiency. But this will be at 207. We're closing in on 200. Next will be JoJo with plus 40 cycles to remove 1 bond, sad face. Yeah, this one's an interesting one. So we have the construction, but this is going to use the bonders over the inputs with this cross, or T. And a product of this exact way of building the input, where you do an arm and then the second arm right away, is that you have to get an extra bond here. And that's rather unfortunate, because it has to do some finagling of the bonds, and then a debond at the end with the like over bonding up to a double bond here to get the exact right bonds down. And that's where all the 40 cycles Elemented went away. So after that, it's just a matter of creating the arms, and then as usual we have using a large stick to build the fusion, and this is, I forget if we've seen it before, this is a common theme of having the fuser over the output. And that means you can just nicely push it all the way over. So instead of traveling backwards to do your fusion, you're traveling forwards, which is nice because you're delivering it to the output zone while you're doing your fusion. And you also don't need to use a drop, so that's nice. And is there any way to recover these 2 cycles? Again, blue finds itself a little out of the way and has maybe some time when it could have been grabbing already and starting to do things. But overall, this is pretty efficient. It's just unfortunate that that extra bond got created. So let's see. I think the next solution is going to be very similar, but with the asymmetric arm shape, but save it. But this is our first sub 200, so very nice, JoJo. And astronelson with Trident, very nice. I like the name. JoJo, yeah, I tried so long to make it possible to avoid the extra bond. Yeah, okay, so let's see how astronelson did something kind of similar, but avoided this issue. So what astronelson does differently from JoJo here is I think the early handoff to red, red's immediately gonna, blue just does a little bit of the extra branch, and then red's gonna take over the rest. And with this L shape, that means the extra bond does not get created when you attach all here. There's no, well, with the straight out arm, there's no extra spot to be bonded. And then it's a similar idea of straight pull a stick at the end toward the output and have the fuser exactly in the same spot, and easy output. Both welders will do a little bit of traveling back, which also costs the solution a little bit of time, but overall this is very efficient, so nice job. And I like this little backward, or this little double back flip flop. It's nice, nice pattern. Yeah, this will come in at 197, saving 2 cycles over JoJo. I think there might have been, what was it? Somewhere some cycles were lost in like maybe the handoff timing back here, but they were regained by not having to do that extra bond. And DariusOne is coming in at 8th with 1 crooked prong, and oh my gosh, it's a double bump. Let's see what we've got. So right angle pull, so this is going to be basically a single Waldo solution twice. So single Waldo, right angle, a little bit of maneuvering, and then build all your arms, pull out a stick, and then gonna have to be a little backwards jog. Again, a disadvantage of pulling it out directly to the right and having the fuser on the left is you have to do this backwards jog to the fusion. But with the double pump, that means like a double pump means you don't have to lose any cycles to like, doesn't matter the blue's over here, red can be on the start point already as soon as possible. And that'll mean that the end behavior is very nice on this, and the construction is pretty efficient. So nice job. There was no way to, I don't think there was any way to rotate it here. Maybe not. Yeah, because it's more important to get started on the other construction, so there's no point outputting earlier or dropping earlier. Yep. So this will come in at 193. Nice jump. And next will be Flexo with 19 cycle loop. I haven't really been mentioning loop numbers here. I guess I should have been, but yeah, this will be a 19 cycle loop, and yeah. Let's see what happens here. So red's on a nice rectangle, and blue is creating a similar approach to what we've seen with the L shape instead of a direct stick, with the fuser right up above, and that'll create neodymium nicely, and everything's just right near the bonder, so it's easy to attach the last arm. And a perfect rotate drop out. A bit of timing lost syncing up their parity, but overall this is nicely timed, and it's going to get straight to the output quickly, so the end behavior is nice. So 190, this will save 3 cycles over the previous, probably with that nice end behavior. I didn't check if this is, what size loop this is. I don't want to bother counting, but I assume it's something like 19.2 with worse end behavior. Next is ToughThought with only 3 bonders. So true to name, we've got just these bonders over the input, pulling a stick out, and doing the arms first with a nice rotate. This will end up just near the bonders. A little bit of time lost in parity syncing, but that's necessary with whenever you need to do the rotates. And yeah, the same idea as we've seen before with the fusion over the output, and you can just go directly out there without having to do any jogs backwards. And nicely timed end behavior will have the inputs happening right after the output. So this will come in at 190. So how do we still save time? Let's look at this. Blue has this flip-flop and these extra spots where it's not really doing work. So you can see that whenever you have a rotate in there, it can actually cost you a few cycles. So it's nice if you can avoid that. And other than that, just trying to get as many spots where you can have red input, blue bond in one, where both welders are doing work in a cycle, is where some efficiency is lost here, if you don't have that. But yeah, this is really nice. Also at 190, so we have a tie, but this is, I believe, a totally different approach, wasn't it? Yeah. And it just happens that this approach means 2 less symbols, or 4 less symbols. So yeah, nice and simple loops here. Gggol comes in at 5th with tines bent. So again, moving on the very flexible output shape. Okay, so whoa, we already created the arms. That was fast. All right. So we have this little dookie. Red's going to pull it out of the way so that you can create the arm and no extra bonds get created, so that's nice. And we'll do, again, the asymmetric straight out shape and then the pushing the neodymium onto the end for the last arm with that stick and fuser on the output approach. So this is kind of the two ways to go about this. You either put the fuser over here and do that output push, or you try and time handoffs correctly so that having the fuser over here is efficient anyway. Or having the fuser elsewhere is efficient anyway. Because you can get the Waldos in sync nicely. This will be 187, saving another 3 cycles. I think this was because of end behavior. Let's see the loop sizes. It's really about time I should be counting loop sizes. Let's see. This is a rectangle of 7, 7, 18, 19. Yes, this is a 19 loop, and I think this is also a 19 loop. No, we might be at 18. Yeah, sorry, we're at 18. So this is one of the ones that avoids rotates, and that's nice because, yeah, no parity problems. So that'll save time, even though it has maybe a bit more latency. And that'll come in at 187. Brookieoz with marked. Let's see what marked means. So it's going to be a red grab at the start, which you usually want to avoid, but I'm sure there's a reason for it here. So creating, so this is a similar approach we've already seen to, was that ToughThought created that way too? No, it was gggol. So this is very similar to gggol's solution, which is the pulling it straight down, up, and then pulling the atoms down to create the second arm. And then you're already in place that your last arm can stick up to the left, which is great. So yeah, almost identical to gggol's, but it's going to save, I think, a few, oh no, it's a few symbols, yeah. 2 symbols, so another really close one.
I was gonna say, there's actually no difference starting on red versus starting on blue because the outputs are placed in different places. If you start with blue, your output is 1 cycle later, but if you do it this way, you save symbols.
Yeah, so nice observation. That's gonna go for the tiebreak, and yeah, the output's over here anyway, so who cares? All right. Yeah, nicely done. Any other comments you want to add to your solution since you're here?
I was going to say, I think I had gggol's exact solution as one of my previous solutions. There's a lot of different permutations to 187.
Yeah, to get a lot of different output shapes that you can, or approaches you can do that.
So for me,
depending on what you pick. Or I guess you're saying similar to gggol's, which is the similar approach, but you're saying there's a lot of configurations that create this shape.
Oh, yeah. Like, blues, instead of doing grab directly drop below the grab for blue, you could actually do a bond plus and then have blue shift over to the side and,
drop it over here or something, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different permutations.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat that even with just a, tightly packed 18-cycle loop, there's a lot of ways you could lay it out. So yeah, nice job. Next, we will have Biggie Mac with just another 18, and indeed, this is the third 18 I guess we've seen. So what have we got here? Another 3-bonder solution. This will build with the fuser right up above, similar to some other ones we've seen. What's going on here? And then red will use that neodymium to pick up the rest and make the arms in a trailing fashion as it goes, which is nice because moving always towards the right and not wasting any time backtracking. The only backtracking was here when you're doing drops and outs anyway, so it's not too much of a worry. And yeah, this is nicely timed so that you can start construction of the next one almost right away, right after that rotate. And unfortunately, the blue's too busy to do the extra output on top of the drop, but that's just the way it goes in these tight ones. And that'll come in at 186, 1 cycle saved. So let's see where the latency came from start to finish. Backtracking and then the straight out. Surprisingly, this does save latency over the previous ones, I guess. This is 18, yeah. just because of, oh, it's because of this late output. Yeah, this late output while you're starting construction of the next one, which is worth it to get the 18, but if you can find a way to configure it that you don't have to do that, then it's...
Biggie does the same thing where he has the 4 input alphas, but his actually starts with grab on cycle 0 instead of me, who has the input for first cycle.
Yeah. Yep, so it's just those little differences in how the approaches work out that can save the latency. All right, that'll be good for third place. And next we have SIR, and this is our top solution. So congratulations to Brookie for third and Biggie for second. And now let's take a look at SIR in first place with, this is where we're going to come back to mention DariusOne's solution. It was actually very similar to the top solution. So congratulations on that front. But let's see how SIR fixes the issue of getting blue back to the start. So again, we have the construction where we do an L shape like this, and we're going to run the fusing this direction and hand off, I think, did we? Yeah, we just handed off while we were doing that. And by handing off like that, you're going to get perfectly timed construction starting right after red rotates out of the way underneath to avoid crashing into the top wall. And yeah, this is going to be good for I think this is a 17 cycle loop. And also fun tidbit here is that the first loop, this flip-flop is unprimed to save on the cycle that is not needed because there was no rotate. And every other loop after that, it'll be a 1 cycle delay because of this rotate. So that's interesting. Yeah, and dropping out. So just finding that right handoff timing, let's look at DariusOne's again, but just finding that right handoff timing can make a big difference for how well, like a good construction method can be paired with a good timed return of the waldos to their start positions. And that's going to come in at a big jump of 178 down from 186, and that's our top solution. So congratulations to SIR. And yeah, let's just look at DariusOne's here, just to remind us. This is what DariusOne's look like. You can see the exact same construction method, basically, with the same, constructing the arms. But this handoff has to happen way down here because they didn't hand off while they're up here, and now blue has to do a little backtracking, and that's where the difference came in. But yeah, that was a great round, I think. I'm glad it worked out that the output had so many fun shapes to make, including even the famous swastika and a lot of straight arm, S arms, spaceship shapes. And unfortunately, we only had one competitor that used the actual output shape, but we're not judging here. All right, and I think with that we're going to take one more. We have one fun solution submitted by YellowBunny. So this is a single Waldo 634. Let's see what we got. Whoa! Oh, that is aesthetic. All right. So we're going to create and we're dropping down here. Okay. We're going to create a stick looking similar to that one that had the fuser in the corner over here too. Travel back along our bond plus path, create another stick, this time actually go for the long stick. Yeah, this is very similar to, I guess this must have been your solution was the other one, right, YellowBunny? I bet. Yeah, same idea. You build the long stick and the short stick, then the long stick, but you managed to turn this into a single Waldo, which is impressive, because this pathing is nutty. Bond drop, grab bond, and boom, we're out. Coming in at 694. Yeah, it's always fun to see a single Waldo solution, and I love this squiggly shape. So I think that's it, and thank you all for your participation in this round. And I also have an announcement, which I think, as we discussed in the channel there, I've decided that, round 3 is pretty late to start with teams. Everyone wants to get into the teams, or, a lot of people want to start their teams, so given that we're only 4 days or whatever past the start, or 3 days past the announcement of round 2, what I'm going to do is tonight in, I don't know, an hour, I'm going to open up everyone to go to teams based on the standings and the rules for which teams are allowed after round 1. So that'll apply to round 2. You'll be, don't share any solutions with each other until you've had the go-ahead from me, but message me in a group DM with everyone who wants to be in the team, making sure they all assent to being in the team. And then once that's done, I'll put you in with the bot, and the bot will handle all the teams for you. So it'll just say, if your partner submits or if you submit, you'll both be progressing in the same solution. yeah, are there any questions or any other final comments? If not, we're going to close out the video. All right, and then thank you for your time, and we're going to see you next week for round 2 compression, the results of that. This has been Zig, joined briefly by Brookie, and thank you all. Have a good week.